Mate. The word should have been a blessing, but when it left Alpha Kale's lips, it sounded like a curse, and the disgust in his silver eyes as they raked over Sarah's trembling form told her everything she needed to know about her fate. The blood moon hung fat and red above the clearing, painting everything the color of old wounds. Sarah's first shift had come hard and fast, bones cracking and reforming while the entire Shadowpine pack watched. She'd emerged from the transformation smaller than most, her wolf a mousy brown that seemed to apologize for existing. Nothing like the magnificent beasts surrounding her. And nothing like the massive black wolf that was Alpha Kale Thornwood. The mate bond had snapped into place the second her paws touched earth. It hit her like lightning, filling every hollow place inside her with golden warmth. For one perfect heartbeat, Sarah had felt complete. Then Kale shifted back to human form, and reality came crashing down. No. His voice cut through the ceremonial drums. The pack fell silent. This is wrong. Sarah's wolf whimpered, confusion and pain lancing through the bond. She shifted back, suddenly aware of how exposed she was, how every eye was fixed on her naked, shaking body. Someone threw a rough blanket over her shoulders. She clutched it tight. Kale? Her voice came out broken. Small. I, Kale Thornwood, Alpha of the Shadowpine pack, reject you as my mate. The formal words fell like stones. An Omega. The moon goddess would saddle me with an Omega. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Not kind laughter. The hunting kind. Sarah's father had been Omega. He died in a challenge when she was 6, too weak to defend himself against a drunk beta who wanted his construction job. Her mother had followed him into death 3 months later, her heart literally giving out from grief. That's what happened to Omegas. They loved too hard, died too easy, and nobody cared. Sarah had spent 12 years making herself invisible, trying to survive in a pack that saw Omegas as barely better than humans. She cleaned the pack house, took the leftover shifts, accepted the scraps. And she'd watched Kale from the shadows, tall and fierce and utterly untouchable, and built foolish dreams in secret. Now those dreams were ashes in her mouth. You would weaken my bloodline. Kale's expression was carved from ice. Omega pups from an alpha? The other packs would laugh us into extinction. I have a legacy to protect. But the bond, Sarah started, means nothing. He turned his back on her. Dismissal. I choose Lyra of the Stormborn as my mate. She's beta blood, strong, worthy of standing beside an alpha. Lyra stepped forward, her blonde hair gleaming in the moonlight, her smile sharp as broken glass. She'd made Sarah's life hell since they were children, tripping her, accidentally, spilling scalding water on her hands in the kitchens, spreading rumors that Omega blood carried disease. Oh, Sarah. Lyra's voice dripped with false sympathy. Did you really think someone like him could want someone like you? The pack laughed again. Sarah felt each sound like a claw raking down her spine. Look at her, Lyra continued, circling Sarah like prey. Scrawny little thing. Probably can't even hunt. Can you imagine her trying to lead beside an alpha? She leaned in close, her breath hot against Sarah's ear. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. Sarah's wolf howled inside her chest, begging her to fight back, to show teeth, to do something. But what could an Omega do against a Beta's daughter with the Alpha's favor? She'd be killed. Exiled at best. Get her out of my sight. Kale didn't even look at her. The ceremony continues. We have a true mating to celebrate. Strong hands grabbed Sarah's arms, 2 wolves from Lyra's circle. They dragged her backward through the crowd as the drums started up again. No one met her eyes. No one spoke in her defense. They threw her past the tree line, into the dark space between civilization and the wild. The forbidden forest loomed ahead, ancient pines so thick they swallowed moonlight. Don't come back, one of the wolves snarled. Rejected wolves bring bad luck. The other spat at her feet. Then they were gone, and Sarah was alone with the sound of celebration drifting through the trees behind her. They were drinking now, toasting Kale and Lyra's union. Already forgetting the Omega who dared to dream. The bond in her chest was dying. That's what rejection did, it killed the connection slowly, like poison spreading through veins. Sarah felt it withering, that golden warmth turning black and rotten. The pain was enormous. Too big for her body to hold. She ran. Branches tore at her blanket, at her skin. She didn't care. The forest grew darker, wilder, wrong. Everyone knew you didn't enter the forbidden forest. Strange things lived here, old things that predated the packs, that answered to laws wolves didn't understand. Sarah ran until her legs gave out. She collapsed in a clearing she didn't recognize, gasping, the dying bond in her chest grinding like broken bones. Tears came finally, hot and worthless. What was she supposed to do now? Go back and beg for scraps? Live as the rejected Omega, the Alpha's mistake? Or just end it here? The thought came soft and seductive. Her parents had died of broken hearts. Maybe it ran in the blood. Maybe Omegas weren't meant to survive rejection. The blanket had fallen away. Sarah didn't bother retrieving it. Let the forest take her. At least the trees wouldn't laugh. Something glowed in front of her. Sarah blinked through tears. An ancient shrine stood at the clearing center, so old the stone had moss growing in cracks like veins. She hadn't seen it when she fell. Couldn't have missed it, the thing was huge, covered in carvings of wolves and moons and symbols she didn't recognize. The glow was coming from inside it. She crawled forward, compelled by something she couldn't name. Her hand touched the shrine's base. Light exploded. Sarah screamed, throwing her arms up, but the light didn't burn. It felt like cool water, like the first breath after surfacing from deep water. It poured into the clearing, turning everything silver white, and the pain in her chest eased just enough that she could breathe. A figure formed in the light. She was tall and terrible and beautiful, hair flowing like liquid moonlight, eyes holding depths that made Sarah want to weep and sing all at once. Power radiated from her in waves, not the dominance of an alpha, but something older, vaster, infinite. Sarah knew who she was. Every wolf knew. Moon Goddess. The words came out as a whisper. Sarah pressed her forehead to the ground. Forgive me. I didn't mean to disturb. Rise, child. The voice held the echo of wind through pine trees, of wolf songs under stars. You disturb nothing. I called you here. Sarah lifted her head, confused. Called me? Did you think it was accident that brought you to this place? The moon goddess, Selene, knelt, bringing herself level with Sarah's eyes. Did you think your rejection was chance? I don't understand. No. But you will. Selene reached out, pressing her palm to Sarah's chest, right over her heart. Right over the dying bond. Tell me what you feel. Pain. Loss. The bond is beneath that. Sarah closed her eyes, trying to feel past the agony. There was something else, something she'd never noticed before. A pulse of light, steady and strong, like a second heartbeat. What is that? She breathed. Your truth. Selene's smile was sad and knowing. You carry a lunar soul, Sarah Moss. A blessing I grant once every 1,000 years to a wolf whose spirit resonates with my own essence. You were never meant to be Omega. You were never meant to be ordinary. The words didn't make sense. But I am Omega. I'm weak, You are what they told you to be. Selene's eyes flashed with something sharp. What they forced you to believe because they feared what you might become. An Omega with a lunar soul? Impossible, they would say. Such power couldn't exist in a lowly wolf. Then why did you let them treat me that way? Why let Kale reject me? Because you needed to be freed. Selene sat back. Kale's rejection was fated, child. written in the stars before you were born. If he'd accepted you, the mate bond would have anchored your soul to his, and my blessing would have remained dormant inside you forever. You would have lived as Omega, died as Omega, and the Shadowpine pack would have wasted the greatest gift I could offer. Sarah shook her head. The pain was making it hard to think. I don't want gifts. I just want the hurting to stop. I can give you that. I can end your pain. Celine's expression turned grave. I can let you die here, in this clearing, and your suffering will be finished. No more rejection, no more shame. Just peace. Yes. The word came out desperate. Please. Or. Celine held up a hand. You can accept your destiny. Become what you were always meant to be. My mortal vessel. My champion. Champion? Sarah laughed, broken and bitter. I can't even defend myself against other wolves. I'm nothing, like Lyra said. No. You are everything they couldn't destroy despite 12 years of trying. Celine's voice turned fierce. You survived, Sarah. You endured. And now I offer you the power to do more than survive. To protect those who cannot protect themselves. To bring balance where there is cruelty. It sounds painful. It will be. Celine didn't lie. The transformation will remake you, body and soul. You'll carry responsibilities that will break you some nights. You'll face enemies that want you dead for simply existing. You'll walk a path with no promise of happiness at the end. Sarah looked back toward the pack lands. Toward the celebration that was probably still raging. Kale claiming Lyra. The Omega's rejection already forgotten. She'd spent her whole life small. Quiet. Trying not to take up space. And where had it gotten her? If I say yes, she said slowly, I won't be Omega anymore. You'll be something the wolf world hasn't seen in a millennium. Celine extended her hand. You'll be mine. Sarah thought about her father, who died because he was too weak to fight back. Her mother, who died because she'd loved an Omega who couldn't survive. All the years of scraps and shame and being invisible. She thought about Kale's disgust. Lyra's cruelty. The pack's laughter. And she thought, no more. Sarah grasped Celine's hand. Power slammed into her like a flood breaking through a dam. She screamed, back arching, as silver light poured into every cell. The dying bond in her chest shattered completely, no more slow poison, just clean breaking, and something new rushed in to fill the space. The lunar soul that had been sleeping woke up blazing. Her wolf surged forward, and this time the shift didn't hurt. It felt like coming home. When Sarah opened her eyes, she stood on 4 legs again. But everything was different. Her fur was silver now, luminous in the moonlight, each hair seeming to glow from within. She was larger, not alpha-sized, but solid, strong, real. Power hummed under her skin, vast and ancient and hers. Celine smiled. There you are. Finally. Sarah's new wolf voice was clear and strong when she spoke. What happens now? Now? The moon goddess rose, light beginning to fade. Now you discover what it means to be my champion. But first, rest. Learn your new body. And when you're ready? Her smile turned sharp. Make them understand what they threw away. The light vanished. Sarah stood alone in the clearing, transformed, powerful, and for the first time in her life, unafraid. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. 3 years could change everything. Sarah learned that truth the hard way, through blood and sweat and nights when her new power burned so hot she thought it might consume her from the inside out. The sanctuary became her forge, and she emerged from it remade. The Valley of Echoes lay hidden in the mountains north of any pack territory, protected by ancient wards that made most wolves' eyes slide right past it. Only those marked by Selene could find the path: outcasts, rejects, wolves who'd been cast aside by their packs for reasons ranging from tragic to absurd. A blind elder who'd been abandoned for weakness. Twin sisters rejected for being too aggressive for females. A male Omega who'd dared to challenge his alpha's cruelty. They all found their way here eventually. To Sarah. She stood now on the training grounds, watching her students spar in the pre-dawn light. Her fur caught the first rays of sun, turning her silver coat almost white. 3 years, and she still wasn't used to her reflection in still water, this powerful creature that had replaced the mousy brown wolf she'd been. Again, she called out, her voice carrying authority she'd earned through countless hours of practice. Maya, you're telegraphing your strikes. Jax, stop holding back because she's smaller. She'll use that hesitation to kill you. The two wolves circled each other, adjusting, and Sarah felt a flicker of pride. 6 months ago, they'd been broken things. Maya discarded by her pack for surviving an attack that killed her family, Jax rejected for refusing an arranged mating. Now they moved like real fighters. Better. Sarah padded closer. Remember, size means nothing when you carry the goddess's blessing. Your strength comes from here, she tapped Maya's chest with one paw. Not from muscle alone. Says the wolf who could probably flip a full-grown alpha, Jax muttered. Sarah's laugh came out like a huff. I had to learn that too. The hard way. She dismissed them for breakfast and shifted to her human form, pulling on the simple leather pants and tunic that served as her uniform. 3 years of training had changed her body as much as Selene's blessing. She was lean and strong now, scarred in places from practice battles, but steady on her feet. Confident. The Omega who'd cowered in Shadowpine was gone. In her place stood the Silver Wolf. That's what they called her in the stories spreading through pack territories. Some said she was a myth, a cautionary tale alphas told about respecting the moon goddess's gifts. Others swore they'd seen her, a silver wolf with glowing eyes who appeared when rogues threatened innocent wolves, who could heal wounds that should have been fatal, who commanded respect from creatures that bowed to no alpha. Sarah tried not to let the stories go to her head. She had work to do. You're brooding again. The voice came from behind her, warm and amused. Sarah turned to find Darius leaning against the training yard fence, arms crossed, dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that still made her pulse skip. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things were beautiful, tall and broad-shouldered, his black hair pulled back from a face that could have been carved from stone, his presence radiating the kind of power that came from being born alpha. Unlike Kale, though, Darius wore his authority like comfortable clothes, not armor. I'm not brooding. I'm thinking. Sarah walked toward him, watching his eyes track her movement like a predator watching prey. 3 years, and that look still sent heat through her veins. There's a difference. Semantics. He pushed off the fence, closing the distance between them in 2 strides. His hand came up to cup her jaw, thumb brushing her cheek with a gentleness that contrasted his warrior's build. You've been distant all week. Talk to me. Sarah leaned into his touch despite herself. Darius had appeared at the sanctuary 8 months ago, an alpha from the Northern Territories whose pack had been slaughtered by hunters. He'd been half dead when he stumbled into the valley, and Sarah had used her lunar gifts to heal him, pouring silver light into his wounds until his wolf could take over. He'd stayed. Not as a student, but as something else. Something complicated. I had another vision, she admitted. From the goddess. Darius's expression darkened. He knew what Selene's visions meant. Usually trouble. Show me. Sarah closed her eyes, letting the memory surface. The visions came as feelings more than images, impressions burned into her mind. Sickness spreading through strong wolves, reducing them to trembling shadows. Territory markers falling. And beneath it all, a familiar scent, pine and mountain air and old stone. Shadowpine. Your old pack. Darius's voice went flat. He dropped his hand. She wants you to go back. She hasn't said that exactly. Sarah opened her eyes. But yes. Something's wrong there. Something bad. Let them burn. The words came out hard. They cast you out. That Alpha rejected you in front of everyone, humiliated you, left you for dead in the Forbidden Forest. Why would you help them? Because that's not how this works. Sarah gestured at the sanctuary around them, at the wolves they'd gathered and trained and given purpose. We don't pick and choose who deserves help based on who hurt us. We protect those who can't protect themselves. Noble. Darius's jaw clenched. Also stupid. Darius. No. He caught her shoulders, turning her to face him fully. Listen to me. You've spent 3 years building something here. Building yourself into someone strong, someone respected. You go back to that pack, you risk everything. They'll see you as the Omega they rejected, not the Silver Wolf. They'll try to break you again. They can't. Sarah met his eyes steadily. I'm not breakable anymore. Everyone's breakable, Sarah. Even moon-blessed wolves. His grip tightened. Stay. Please. Whatever's happening in Shadowpine, it's not your responsibility. Sarah wanted to agree. Gods, she wanted to let it go, to stay in this safe place with wolves who respected her, with Darius who looked at her like she hung the moon instead of like she was something to scrape off his boot. But the vision nagged at her. Something about it felt wrong in a way she couldn't articulate. I need to scout, she said finally. Just look, from a distance. If it's nothing, I'll come back. If it's something. She trailed off. If it's something, you'll throw yourself into danger trying to save wolves who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. Darius released her, stepping back, frustration rolling off him in waves. You know I'm right. Maybe. Sarah touched his arm. But I still have to look. He caught her hand, brought it to his lips. The kiss was gentle, at odds with the tension in his frame. Then I'm coming with you. Darius. Non-negotiable. His eyes flashed wolf gold for a moment. You want to risk your neck for ungrateful bastards, fine. But you don't do it alone. Sarah should have argued. Should have pointed out that an unknown Alpha showing up in Shadowpine territory would cause problems. But the truth was, she didn't want to face that place alone. Okay, she whispered. Together. His smile was fierce. Together. They left at nightfall, 2 wolves running through darkness like liquid shadow. Darius's black coat blended with the night, while Sarah's silver fur caught moonlight and threw it back. They moved fast and silent, eating up the miles between the sanctuary and Shadowpine territory. Sarah hadn't been back in 3 years. Part of her wondered if the trees would remember her, if the forest would feel like coming home. It didn't. It felt like visiting a grave. They stopped at the border, hidden in thick underbrush. Sarah's enhanced senses picked up pack markers, but something was off. The scent was wrong, weak, stale, like no one had refreshed the territorial marks in weeks. What kind of pack lets their borders go? Darius's voice echoed in her head, carried through the bond they'd developed over months of training together. Not a mate bond, but something close. A choice, not fate. A dying one, Sarah replied. They crept closer, staying downwind. The pack lands looked different than Sarah remembered. The training grounds were empty, equipment scattered and unused. Several houses showed signs of damage, broken windows, doors hanging loose. And the wolves she could see moving between buildings looked diminished. Thin. Sick. There. Darius directed her attention toward the pack house. Sarah's breath caught. Kale stood on the main steps, and the sight of him hit harder than she'd expected. He looked older, harder, his face carved with new lines. But it was his posture that shocked her, shoulders hunched, head down, nothing like the proud Alpha who'd rejected her. Lyra stood beside him, and she looked thriving. Her blonde hair gleamed, her skin glowed, her body showed no signs of the sickness affecting the others. She spoke animatedly to a group of wolves, gesturing, clearly in charge. Sarah's wolf growled low in her chest. Easy, Darius warned. We're just observing. But Sarah couldn't look away. She watched Kale nod at something Lyra said, watched him turn and walk back into the pack house like a wolf defeated. Where was the fierce alpha who'd declared her beneath him? Where was the male who'd valued his legacy above all else? A commotion near the eastern border drew her attention. Wolves were gathering, their voices carrying on the wind. Another one died last night. That's 6 this month. Plague, I'm telling you. The alpha needs to do something. Sarah's heart clenched. 6 dead? From what? She crept closer, using skills she'd learned in the sanctuary, until she could see the gathering clearly. A body lay on a wooden platform, wrapped in ceremonial cloth. Even from this distance, Sarah could smell death and something else, something unnatural. An older wolf she recognized, Marcus, one of the Beta's advisors, was speaking. The sickness spreads. Our strongest warriors fall while our enemies gather at the borders. The Bloodfang pack smell our weakness. If we don't find a cure soon. There is no cure. Lyra's voice cut through the crowd like a blade. She'd appeared from somewhere, Kale trailing behind her. This is an attack. Someone poisoned our water supply. Murmurs of anger rippled through the gathered wolves. We should retaliate, one of the warriors called out. Strike Bloodfang before they strike us. With what strength? Marcus demanded. We're barely holding our borders as it is. We need help. We need nothing from outsiders. Lyra's eyes flashed. Shadowpine stands alone, as we always have. Anyone who suggests otherwise is a coward. Sarah felt Darius tense beside her. She's lying, he said. I can smell it from here. That's not poison sickness. That's a curse. Sarah finished, horror dawning. The pieces clicked together like a lock opening. The way only the strongest warriors were affected. The way Lyra remained untouched. The timing, 3 years since Kale's rejection. She closed her eyes, reaching for the lunar gift inside her, and let her senses expand. Silver light flickered across her vision, showing her threads of magic invisible to normal sight. And there, woven through the pack lands like a spider's web, she saw it. Dark magic, old and hungry, feeding on the wolf's strength. But it wasn't coming from outside the territory. It was coming from inside the pack house. From Kale himself. No. Sarah's blood ran cold. Oh gods, no. What? Darius pressed. Sarah, what do you see? She saw the curse's origin point, wrapped around Kale's heart like chains. She saw how it pulsed with each beat, sending corruption through pack bonds that connected Alpha to pack members. And she saw the trigger, clear as crystal in her enhanced sight. The rejection of a moon-blessed Omega. Selene had warned her. An offense against the goddess herself, she'd said that night in the Forbidden Forest. Sarah had thought she meant spiritual consequences, karmic justice, something abstract. She hadn't realized the goddess's anger would be this literal. By rejecting his true mate, a wolf carrying the lunar soul, Kale had violated one of the moon goddess's oldest laws. And now his pack was paying the price. Every wolf connected to him through the alpha bond was slowly dying, their strength drained by a curse that would spread until nothing remained. We have to go. Darius was pulling at her, urgent. Sarah, patrol wolves are coming. We have to. Wait. Sarah's voice came out strangled. I need to see. Kale had lifted his head. For just a moment, his eyes swept the tree line where they hid. And Sarah saw his wolf behind those eyes, restless, desperate, searching for something. For her. Even severed, even broken, some part of the mate bond remained. Some echo that called to him across 3 years and a rejection that should have destroyed everything. His wolf knew. Knew she was here, knew she was watching, knew she was the answer to a question he didn't understand how to ask. Then Lyra touched his arm, and the moment broke. Chaol turned away, following his chosen mate back into the pack house, and Sarah finally let Darius pull her into retreat. They ran hard until they were miles from Shadowpine borders, until her lungs burned and her legs ached. Only then did they stop, shifting back to human form in a small clearing. "Talk to me." Darius's hands were on her face, tilting her head up. "What did you see?" "A curse." Sarah's voice shook. Triggered by the rejection. Chaol broke a sacred law when he turned away from a moon-blessed mate, and now the goddess is punishing his entire pack for it. Then they're getting what they deserve. No sympathy in Darius's tone. Cosmic justice. They're dying. Sarah pulled away. Warriors who had nothing to do with the rejection are dying. Families are losing fathers, mothers, children. The whole pack will be slaughtered when Bloodfang attacks, and it's because their alpha was an arrogant bastard. Darius caught her shoulders. "This isn't your fault, Sarah. You didn't cast this curse. But I can break it." The certainty settled into her bones. "The goddess blessed me, made me her vessel. If the curse stems from rejecting that blessing, then I'm the key to ending it." "No." Darius's eyes went hard. "Absolutely not. You are not sacrificing yourself for that pack." "I wouldn't be sacrificing." "Yes, you would." He shook her slightly. "Don't you get it? To break a curse like that, you'd have to forgive the rejection. You'd have to restore what was broken. That means accepting the mate bond again, tying yourself back to an alpha who treated you like garbage." Sarah opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. Because he was right. She could feel it in her lunar soul. The curse could only be broken by the one who'd been wronged. She'd have to return to Shadowpine, face Chaol, and somehow make right what he'd made wrong. It would mean going back to being that trembling Omega in spirit if not in fact. It would mean acknowledging that the rejection still had power over her. "I can't just let them die," she whispered. "You can." Darius's voice gentled. "Sarah, you don't owe them anything. You built a new life, a better life. You have wolves who respect you here. You have," he stopped, jaw working. "I have what?" "Me." The word came out rough. "You have me. I know we haven't. I know we're not formally mated, but Sarah, I care about you. Deeply. The thought of you going back there, putting yourself in danger for wolves who would spit on you." He took a shaky breath. "It kills me." Sarah's heart twisted. She cared about Darius too, maybe not the same way he cared about her, but enough that hurting him felt like hurting herself. He'd been patient, never pushing, content to build something slow and steady between them. And he was right about the danger. Going back to Shadowpine meant facing not just Chaol but Lyra, the pack that had laughed at her humiliation, the memories that still woke her sometimes with phantom pain where the bond had broken. But she kept seeing those sick wolves. Those frightened faces. That body on the funeral platform. "I need to think," she said finally. "Can we just go back to the sanctuary? I need time to figure this out." Darius looked like he wanted to argue more, but he nodded. "Okay. But Sarah? Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Even if I think you're making a mistake." They started back, but Sarah's mind was already racing. The curse. The dying pack. Chaol's searching eyes. And beneath it all, a question she didn't want to examine too closely. Why did part of her want to go back? By the time they reached the sanctuary, dawn was breaking. Sarah was exhausted, emotionally wrung out, ready to collapse into her bed and pretend none of this was happening. Instead, she found Maya waiting at the entrance, her face pale. "Thank the goddess," Maya gasped. "We have a visitor. He says it's urgent. Says he has a message from Shadowpine Pack." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "What? An emissary. He's half dead, looks like he ran straight through hostile territory to get here. He keeps asking for the silver wolf. Maya's eyes were worried. Sarah, he's begging for help. Says his alpha sent him. Says the whole pack is dying and you're their only hope. Sarah and Darius exchanged a loaded look. It's a trap, Darius said flatly. They found out you were scouting, and this is Lyra trying to lure you in. Maybe. Sarah's gut twisted. Or maybe Kale's wolf figured out what mine already knows, that I'm the key to saving them. You don't know that for sure. No. Sarah turned toward the sanctuary's main building, where the emissary would be waiting. But I need to hear what he has to say. Sarah. I'm just listening, Darius. That's all. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. Because the Silver Wolf had been built on a foundation of helping those who couldn't help themselves, of using her gifts to protect the weak. And right now, Shadowpine Pack, the pack that had thrown her away like trash, was weak. The question was, did they deserve her help anyway? Sarah took a breath and walked inside to find out. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 3. The emissary's name was Thomas, and he looked like death warmed over. Sarah found him in the sanctuary's healing room, collapsed on a cot, his breathing shallow and labored. Dark veins spider-webbed across his skin, the curse's signature, marking him as one of Shadowpine's afflicted. Maya had given him water, but he'd been too weak to drink more than a few sips. His eyes opened when Sarah entered, and hope flickered across his ravaged face. Silver Wolf, he rasped. They said, you were real. Sarah knelt beside him, already pulling lunar energy to her fingertips. Silver light gathered like mist, and she pressed her hands to his chest, letting it flow into him. The curse fought back, dark tendrils trying to resist her healing, but her power was stronger. Slowly, the black veins receded. Thomas gasped as strength returned. How did you? Later. Sarah kept her voice gentle. First, tell me why you're here. Why did your alpha send you? He didn't. Thomas struggled to sit up. The alpha, he doesn't even know I came. He's too far gone, locked in his own head, listening only to that which he calls a mate. Darius, leaning against the wall with arms crossed, made a disgusted sound. So you abandoned your post to seek help your alpha doesn't want. My alpha is dying. Thomas's voice broke. They're all dying. Warriors I've fought beside for 20 years are wasting away, and that female, he spat the word like a curse, stands there healthy and glowing, telling us it's enemy poison while we rot from the inside. Lyra, Sarah said softly. She's evil. Thomas looked directly at Sarah. I don't know what you are, Silver Wolf. The stories say you're blessed by the moon goddess herself. If that's true, if you have even a fraction of the power they claim. He grabbed her wrist. Please. Our pack is dying. Our families are dying. And I think it's something to do with 3 years ago. With the Omega the Alpha rejected under the blood moon. Sarah's breath caught. What makes you say that? Because that's when the Alpha started changing. His wolf grew restless, started howling at night, pacing the borders like he'd lost something. And exactly 1 year after the rejection, the first warrior fell sick. Thomas's grip tightened. The elders whisper that it's a curse. That the goddess was angered by something the Alpha did. And you believe them? Darius asked. I believe we're dying, and we need help. Thomas turned back to Sarah. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what rules I'm breaking. Will you come? Sarah felt Darius's eyes burning into her back. She'd promised she was just listening. Just gathering information. But Thomas's desperation was real, and behind him stood an entire pack of innocents paying for one Alpha's pride. I'll come, she said quietly. But not as the Silver Wolf. Thomas blinked. I don't understand. If I walk into Shadowpine announcing who I am, whoever's behind this will either run or attack before I can figure out what's really happening. Sarah's mind was already working through the plan. I need to observe. Which means I need to be someone else. A spy? Thomas looked uncertain. A healer. Sarah stood, pulling her hands back. The silver light faded. You'll bring me as a traveling healer you found who specializes in mysterious illnesses. No one needs to know about moon goddess blessings or legendary wolves. Just a stranger offering help. That's actually smart, Maya said from the doorway. Sarah hadn't noticed her listening. Your scent changed when you transformed, right? Even wolves who knew you before won't recognize you by scent alone. And 3 years is a long time, Sarah added. I looked different as an Omega. Smaller, weaker. No one's going to connect a confident healer to the trembling girl they threw away. Except the Alpha, Darius cut in. Mate bonds don't care about scent changes or time. The moment you're close enough, his wolf will know. Sarah's jaw set. Then I'll keep my distance. I'm there to investigate and break the curse if I can, not to have a reunion with Cale Thornwood. Darius pushed off the wall, closing the distance between them in 3 strides. He caught her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. This is a mistake. Maybe. She covered his hands with hers. But it's mine to make. Then I'm coming with you. No. The word came out firm. An unknown Alpha showing up in Shadowpine while they're weak and paranoid? They'd see you as a threat, maybe even an enemy scout. It would blow everything. So I'm supposed to just wait here while you walk into danger? You're supposed to trust me. Sarah softened her voice. I'm not the Omega who ran into the Forbidden Forest 3 years ago, Darius. I'm the Silver Wolf. I've faced down rogue packs, dark magic, and worse. I can handle this. He searched her face for a long moment, then pulled her against his chest in a crushing embrace. 7 days, he muttered into her hair. You have 7 days to figure this out and come home. After that, I'm coming after you, and I don't care how many territorial boundaries I have to cross. Sarah wrapped her arms around him, breathing in his familiar scent, dark earth and winter pine. 7 days, she agreed. But as she said it, she felt the weight of something larger settling over her. 7 days. The next blood moon was in 7 days. Coincidence? With the moon goddess involved, Sarah doubted it. They left at dusk, Sarah and Thomas traveling fast and light. She dressed simply, hiding her distinctive silver hair under a dark cloak, carrying only a small pack of supplies. To anyone watching, she was exactly what Thomas claimed, a traveling healer who'd agreed to help a desperate pack in exchange for shelter and food. Nothing special. Nothing threatening. Nothing like the legendary Silver Wolf. The Shadowpine border looked even worse up close. The territorial markers were barely visible, the scent so faded that rogues must be circling like vultures. Thomas led her through paths he clearly knew well, avoiding the main entrance. We'll go to my house first, he explained, voice low. Get you settled. Then I'll bring you to the pack house in the morning, introduce you to Marcus. He's the Beta's father, one of the few wolves who still thinks clearly. If anyone can get you an audience with the sick wolves, it's him. Sarah nodded, but her attention was caught by the pack lands themselves. Everywhere she looked, she saw decline. Houses with overgrown gardens. Training equipment left to rust. And the wolves they passed, thin, hollow-eyed, moving like shadows. Her heart clenched. This was worse than she'd thought. Thomas's house was small but well-kept, tucked at the edge of the residential area. His mate, a kind-faced woman named Claire, greeted them with obvious relief. Thank the goddess, Claire breathed, ushering Sarah inside. Thomas, I was so worried. You've been gone 3 days. I found help. Thomas gestured to Sarah. This is I'm sorry, I never asked your name. Rhea, Sarah said, using a nickname only her mother had called her. Just Rhea. Claire's smile was warm despite the fear in her eyes. Any friend of Thomas's is welcome here. Are you hungry? I don't have much, but I'm fine. Sarah set her pack down. Thomas told me about the sickness. How many are affected? 32 confirmed cases. Claire's voice dropped. 17 dead. All of them strong wolves, warriors, hunters, the beta's youngest son. It's like the sickness targets strength itself. Because it did. The curse fed on the alpha bond, draining those most closely connected to Kale's power. I'd like to examine one of the sick wolves, Sarah said carefully. Tonight, if possible. The sooner I understand what we're dealing with, the sooner I can help. Thomas and Claire exchanged glances. My brother, Claire said finally. He's in the late stages. We've been preparing for the worst. If you could even just ease his pain. Take me to him. Claire's brother lived 2 houses down, and the smell of sickness hit Sarah before they even entered. Inside, a male wolf lay on a bed that seemed too large for his wasted frame. His mate sat beside him, holding his hand, her face carved with grief. Claire. The mate looked up with dull eyes. Is it time? No. Claire moved to her side. Sarah, this is Rhea. She's a healer. She's going to try to help. Sarah's laugh was broken. We've had healers. They can't do anything. Let me try, Sarah said gently. She knelt beside the bed, studying the sick wolf. The curse's marks were vivid on him, black veins, sunken eyes, breathing labored and wet. He was hours from death, maybe less. She placed her hands on his chest and closed her eyes, reaching for her lunar gift. The curse resisted immediately, snarling like a living thing. Dark magic wrapped around the wolf's heart, squeezing, draining. Sarah pushed harder, pouring silver light into him, but it was like trying to bail out a boat with a hole in the bottom. She could ease the symptoms temporarily, but without breaking the curse at its source, this wolf was doomed. Still, she tried. She pulled the darkness back, giving him enough relief that his breathing eased and color returned to his face. Sarah gasped. How did you? It's temporary, Sarah said quietly, pulling back. I've bought him time, maybe a few days, but I can't cure this. Not yet. A few days is more than we had. Sarah grabbed Sarah's hands, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah's throat tightened. This was what was at stake. Real wolves, real families, real grief. She had to fix this. Morning came too fast. Thomas brought her to the pack house as promised, introducing her to Marcus, who looked at her with sharp, assessing eyes that reminded Sarah uncomfortably of her father. A traveling healer, Marcus said slowly. How convenient. I go where I'm needed, Sarah replied, keeping her voice steady. Your wolf found me. I agreed to help. And you want nothing in return? Food and shelter while I work. That's all. Marcus studied her a moment longer, then nodded. Fine. But you'll work under supervision. These are dangerous times, and we can't afford to trust strangers blindly. He raised his voice. You'll report your findings to the Alpha and his mate daily. Sarah's stomach dropped. That's not necessary. It's mandatory. A new voice cut through the room, cold and sharp. Lyra swept in like she owned the place, which, Sarah supposed, she basically did. 3 years had been kind to her. She was even more beautiful now, dressed in expensive clothes that showed off her figure, her blonde hair elaborately styled. But her eyes were the same, calculating, cruel, hungry. Any stranger offering help in our time of need must be vetted personally, Lyra continued, circling Sarah like a predator. Surely you understand, healer. Sarah kept her head down, her posture submissive. Of course, Luna. Good. Lyra's smile was sharp. You'll begin this afternoon. The Alpha is resting currently. But I'll ensure he's available to meet you. She swept out as dramatically as she'd entered, leaving a wake of expensive perfume and barely concealed threat. Don't mind her, Marcus muttered. She's protective of the Alpha. Ever since the sickness started, she's been paranoid about outsiders. Or guilty, Sarah thought. But she kept that to herself. The afternoon found her in the pack house's healing wing, examining sick wolves under Marcus's watchful eye. Each one showed the same symptoms: the curse's dark veins, the wasting strength, the sense of something vital being slowly drained away. And each one she touched confirmed what she already knew. This wasn't poison. This was divine punishment, anchored to Cale himself. She was so focused on her work that she didn't notice him enter until Marcus stood. Alpha, Marcus said, respect in his tone. This is Rhea, the healer Thomas brought. Sarah's entire body went rigid. She kept her head down, her hood up, every instinct screaming at her to run. Look at me. Cale's voice was different than she remembered. Rougher, tired, stripped of the arrogant certainty that had defined him. Slowly, Sarah raised her head, keeping her expression neutral. He looked worse up close. The proud Alpha who'd rejected her was gone, replaced by a male who looked like he was barely holding together. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His skin was pale. And his wolf, she could see it pacing behind his gaze, restless and desperate. But he didn't recognize her. His eyes swept over her face, and there was no spark of recognition. Just a bone-deep weariness and something else, curiosity. Interest? You're here to heal my pack, Cale said. I'm here to try, Alpha. Sarah kept her voice carefully neutral. The sickness is complex. Can you cure it? I don't know yet. I need more time to understand what we're dealing with. Cale's jaw clenched. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to argue, to demand results immediately. Then the fight seemed to drain out of him. Do what you can. He turned to leave, and Sarah felt something tug in her chest. The ghost of the bond, maybe, or just her traitorous heart recognizing its mate even when her mind said no. Alpha, she heard herself say. When did this start? The sickness? He paused, his back to her. 3 years ago. Almost to the day. And is there anything significant that happened then? Any event that might have? She trailed off carefully. Cale's shoulders tensed. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. I made a choice. One I've regretted every day since. Then he was gone, leaving Sarah staring after him with her heart hammering against her ribs. 3 days passed in a blur of healing sessions and careful investigation. Sarah moved through the pack house like a ghost, observing, learning, gathering evidence. And everything she found pointed back to Lyra. The female was never sick, despite being in constant contact with afflicted wolves. She controlled access to Cale, keeping him isolated and dependent on her counsel. And she'd been seen meeting with a hooded figure at the forest's edge, someone who definitely wasn't pack. A witch. Had to be. On the 4th night, Sarah decided to follow her. She waited until the pack house settled into silence, then slipped out of her guest room and tracked Lyra's scent into the forest. The female moved with purpose, clearly confident no one would follow. She was wrong. Sarah kept her distance, using skills learned from 3 years of sanctuary training, until Lyra reached a clearing lit by foxfire. A woman waited there, old and crooked, her eyes gleaming with dark magic. You're late, the witch snapped. The new healer is causing problems. Lyra's voice was sharp. She's actually helping wolves survive longer. If she figures out the curse. She won't. No ordinary healer can break divine magic. And if she's not ordinary? The witch laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Then kill her. You've done it before. What's one more body? Sarah's blood ran cold. One more body? How many had Lyra killed? The Alpha is getting suspicious, Lyra continued. His wolf won't stop howling at the moon. It's like he's searching for something. Of course he is. Rejected mate bonds don't break cleanly, especially not moon-blessed ones. Part of him will always search for the Omega, even though she's probably dead in a ditch somewhere. The witch's smile was vicious. By the time he figures out what he's lost, you'll have secured your position. The pack will be too weak to resist, and you'll rule as Alpha in all but name. And the curse? Will continue until every wolf connected to him is dead. Then you can challenge him, kill him, and take the pack outright. Just like we planned. Sarah had heard enough. She started to retreat, but her foot caught on a root. The snap of the branch was deafening in the quiet forest. Lyra's head whipped around. Who's there? Sarah ran. She heard Lyra and the witch behind her, but she was faster, stronger, blessed by divine power. She burst from the tree line and sprinted for the pack house, her mind racing. She had to tell someone. Marcus. Thomas. Anyone who could. A hand grabbed her arm and yanked her into a shadowed alcove. Sarah spun, power gathering in her palms, ready to fight. Easy. Cale's voice. His hands were on her shoulders, his eyes wide. What are you running from? Sarah's heart hammered. She was too close to him, close enough that she could feel the heat of his body, smell his scent, and gods, it still called to her despite everything. Nothing. I was just. You're lying. His eyes searched her face. You're terrified. What happened? She should have pulled away. Should have made an excuse and disappeared. But standing this close to him, with his hands on her and his wolf rising behind his eyes, something shifted. The ghost of their mate bond, dormant for 3 years, flickered to life. It was nothing like before, not the overwhelming flood of that first recognition. But it was there, a pull, a recognition that bypassed logic and went straight to the soul. Cale felt it too. She watched his pupils dilate, watched him sway toward her like a plant toward sunlight. You smell like. He leaned closer, breathing her in. Moonlight. Magic. How do you smell like? He touched her face, and the bond roared to life. Silver light exploded from Sarah's skin, wrapping around them both, and the connection snapped into place like it had never been broken. Every emotion Cale had buried for 3 years slammed into her, regret, longing, desperate searching, and beneath it all, the constant howl of his wolf crying for its lost mate. Cale staggered back, his face sheet white. No. That's not possible. Sarah's hood had fallen back in the surge of power. Her silver hair spilled free, catching moonlight, and she knew he could see her clearly now. See the Omega he'd rejected. See what she'd become. Sarah? His voice broke on her name. But you're not what you remember? She pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. No. I'm not. He fell to his knees. The proud Alpha who'd rejected her, who declared her beneath his bloodline, dropped to his knees in the dirt and stared up at her with devastation written across every line of his face. What have I done? The words came out as a whisper. Sarah, what have I done? You rejected me. Her voice was steady despite the storm inside her. You chose your legacy over your mate. You humiliated me in front of the entire pack and left me to die in the Forbidden Forest. I know. Gods, I know. His hands were shaking. I was a fool. I was arrogant and blind and stupid, and I've regretted it every single day since. My wolf, it's been howling for you, searching, driving me half mad because I knew something was wrong but I couldn't figure out what. The mate bond, Sarah said quietly. Even rejected, it leaves an echo. More than an echo. Cale looked up at her, and she was shocked to see tears tracking down his face. You're my true mate. The moon goddess herself chose you for me, and I threw you away like you were nothing. I was nothing. To you. No. He shook his head violently. You were everything, and I was too blind to see it. Too focused on bloodlines and legacy and what the other packs would think. I looked at you and saw an Omega, and I never looked deeper. Never saw the strength, the courage, his voice broke. You're magnificent. You're everything an Alpha could ever want, and I destroyed us before we even had a chance. Sarah's throat tightened. Part of her, the part that was still that 18-year-old Omega, wanted to collapse with him. Wanted to forgive him, to let the mate bond pull them back together. But she wasn't that girl anymore. I don't need you, she said, and watched him flinch like she'd struck him. I don't need your acceptance or your approval or your bond. I've built a life without you, Kale. I've become something powerful and respected, and I did it all without a mate. I know. His voice was barely audible. I can see that. You're God's, Sarah, you're glowing. You're blessed. You're everything I said you couldn't be. He reached for her hand, hesitated, then touched her fingertips like she might disappear. Please. Please forgive me. I know I don't deserve it. I know I have no right to ask. But you're my mate. My true mate. And I'm begging you, give me a chance to make this right. The bond pulled at her, singing with the rightness of his touch. Every instinct said to accept, to let herself fall into this connection that had been ordained by the moon goddess herself. But then she thought of Darius. Of his steady presence, his genuine care, his love that had nothing to do with divine mandate. She thought of the sanctuary, the life she'd built, the wolves who respected her for who she was, not what fate decreed. I can't, she whispered. Kale, I can't. His face crumpled. Don't. A scream shattered the night. They both spun toward the sound. Sarah recognized the voice. Sarah, Claire's sister-in-law. The healer. Sarah was running toward them, wild-eyed. Luna Lyra found out, she's poisoned, she's trying to. Lyra stepped from the shadows behind Sarah, her face twisted with rage. In her hand, she held a wicked silver dagger that pulsed with dark magic. You, Lyra hissed, staring at Sarah. I knew there was something wrong about you. When I heard you'd caused a magical surge, I finally understood. Her laugh was sharp. The rejected Omega. Of course. You came crawling back. Lyra? Kale stood, positioning himself between her and Sarah. What are you doing? What I should have done 3 years ago. Lyra's eyes were wild. She's going to ruin everything. She'll tell you about the curse, about the witch, about my plans. I won't let her destroy what I've built. She lunged. Kale moved to intercept, but Sarah was faster. Silver light exploded from her hands, forming a shield that sent Lyra flying backward. The dagger clattered to the ground, its dark magic dissipating in the face of lunar power. You want to know why your pack is dying? Sarah's voice rang with divine authority. It's her. Lyra's been working with a dark witch, using the curse triggered by Kale's rejection to slowly kill every strong wolf in Shadowpine. She's been planning to take over the pack, and she's been murdering anyone who got too close to the truth. Wolves were gathering now, drawn by the commotion. Marcus. Thomas. Claire. They stared at Lyra with dawning horror. Lies, Lyra spat. She's a rejected mate trying to get revenge. I heard you. Sarah's eyes glowed silver. In the forest, meeting with the witch. You confessed to everything. No proof. Just the word of a bitter Omega against. The air split open. One moment, they were in the pack house courtyard. The next, the moon goddess Selene stood among them, her presence so overwhelming that every wolf dropped to their knees, even Sarah. Enough. Selene's voice carried the weight of eternity. I grow weary of this mortal drama. She gestured, and images bloomed in the air, Lyra meeting with the witch, planning Chaol's downfall, poisoning wolves who got suspicious. Every crime, every betrayal, displayed for all to see. Lyra of the Stormborn, you stand condemned by your own actions. Celene's eyes were pitiless. You conspired with dark magic, murdered innocents, and sought to corrupt the natural order. Your punishment will be... Wait. Sarah found her voice. Moon Goddess, the pack. Can the curse be broken? Selene turned to her, and her expression softened. Yes, my champion. But only by you, and only through a choice. She raised her hand, and 3 paths appeared, shimmering in the moonlight like roads made of stars. The first path, reclaim your rejected mate. Forgive Chaol Thornwood, restore the bond, and heal Shadowpine. You will become Luna of this pack, tied to this place and this male for the rest of your mortal life. Sarah's heart clenched. She looked at Chaol, still kneeling, looking at her like she was his salvation. The second path, return to your sanctuary and the male who loves you freely. Choose Darius, build a new pack with him as your alpha, and leave Shadowpine to its fate. The curse will not follow you, and you'll be free of this burden. Darius. Safe, steady, chosen not by fate but by genuine care. A life she'd built herself. The third path, ascend. Become fully divine, my immortal champion, with power beyond mortal comprehension. But you'll leave the mortal realm forever, no mate, no pack, no earthly ties. You'll serve me alone for eternity. Power. Purpose. But also isolation. 3 paths. 3 futures. And only 7 days to choose. Celene's smile was sad and knowing. The next blood moon rises in 7 days, Sarah Moss. When it reaches its peak, you must stand at this place and choose your destiny. Choose wisely, for there is no turning back once the decision is made. The goddess vanished, taking Lyra with her in a flash of terrible light. The condemned she-wolf's screams faded into nothing, leaving only silence. Sarah stood alone in the center of the courtyard, with every eye on her, the weight of 3 futures pressing down on her shoulders. Chaol was still kneeling. Still looking at her like she was his whole world. And somewhere, 7 days' journey away, Darius was waiting for her to come home. 7 days to choose. 7 days to decide who she was, who she wanted to be, and what kind of future she could live with. The blood moon was rising. And Sarah had no idea what she was going to do. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The curse broke like shattered glass. Sarah stood in the center of the Shadowpine ceremonial grounds, silver light pouring from her hands in waves, and felt the dark magic writhing as it died. It fought her, tried to cling to the pack bonds it had poisoned, but lunar power was stronger than any witch's curse. One by one, the sick wolves gasped as color returned to their faces. The black veins receded. Strength flowed back into wasted limbs. Around her, Sarah heard cries of relief, sobs of joy, the sound of a pack remembering what it felt like to be whole. But she could feel the truth beneath the healing, this was temporary. Listen to me. Her voice carried across the grounds, amplified by divine power. Every wolf turned to face her. The curse is broken for now, but it's not gone. It can't be gone, not permanently, until balance is restored. Until the offense against the moon goddess is addressed. What does that mean? Marcus asked, his voice rough with emotion. His son, one of the afflicted, stood beside him, whole again but confused. It means I've bought you time. Sarah lowered her hands, exhaustion pulling at her. But if I leave without completing what I came here to do, the curse will return within a lunar cycle. Stronger than before. And next time, I won't be able to stop it. The pack exchanged worried glances. Thomas stepped forward. What do you need from us? Nothing you can give me. Sarah looked at Chaol, who stood at the edge of the crowd watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. This is between me and the moon goddess now. She turned to leave, needing distance, needing air, needing to think. But Kale was suddenly in front of her, blocking her path. Sarah, wait. Don't. She held up a hand. I need space, Kale. I need to figure out what I'm going to do, and I can't do that with you. She gestured helplessly at him. With you looking at me like that. Like what? Like I'm your salvation. His jaw clenched. You are. No. I'm not responsible for saving you from the consequences of your own choices. She moved to step around him, but he caught her wrist. Not roughly, but with a desperation that stopped her in her tracks. Please, he said quietly. Just, don't disappear. Don't run from this. From us. There is no us, Kale. There could be. His thumb brushed across her pulse point, and she hated how her body responded to the simple touch. If you give me a chance. Sarah pulled her hand free. You had your chance. 3 years ago. You chose Lyra. She walked away before he could respond, feeling his eyes on her back the entire way. The guest room they'd given her was small but comfortable, far enough from the main pack house that she could breathe without feeling Kale's presence pressing against her awareness. Sarah collapsed onto the bed, covering her face with her hands. 7 days. She had 7 days to decide her entire future. Path 1, forgive Kale, restore the mate bond, become Luna of Shadowpine. Tie herself to the male who'd rejected her, to the pack that had laughed at her humiliation. But also heal them permanently, save innocent lives, fulfill what the moon goddess ordained. Path 2, return to Darius and the sanctuary. Build something new with a male who'd chosen her freely, who'd never made her feel like she was less than. But leave Shadowpine to die, abandon wolves who'd done nothing wrong except follow a flawed alpha. Path 3, ascend to immortality. Become something beyond mortal concerns, beyond pain and betrayal and impossible choices. But also leave behind everything that made her who she was, her humanity, her capacity for love, her connections to the mortal world. None of them felt right. All of them felt impossible. A knock at the door interrupted her spiraling thoughts. I'm not receiving visitors, she called out. It's Claire. I brought food. Sarah's stomach chose that moment to growl, reminding her she hadn't eaten since yesterday. She opened the door to find Claire holding a tray laden with bread, cheese, and soup that smelled like heaven. You look like you're about to collapse, Claire said, pushing past her into the room. When did you last eat? I don't remember. Sarah closed the door and accepted the tray gratefully. The first bite of bread was so good she almost moaned. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank Thomas. He's been worried you'd work yourself to death trying to save us. Claire settled into the room's single chair, watching Sarah with kind eyes. You saved my brother. I don't think you understand what that means to me. I only delayed the inevitable. No. You gave us hope. Claire leaned forward. For months, we've watched our pack die piece by piece. We felt helpless, terrified, convinced the moon goddess had abandoned us. Then you appeared, and suddenly everything changed. You're a miracle, Sarah. I'm just a wolf trying to do the right thing. You're more than that. Claire's smile was gentle. You're the Omega our Alpha threw away. The one who came back more powerful than any of us imagined. Do you know what the pack is saying? They're saying the moon goddess sent you to teach us a lesson, that true strength has nothing to do with rank or bloodline. Sarah set down her soup, her appetite suddenly gone. What else are they saying? That the Alpha has been given a second chance he doesn't deserve. That if you're smart, you'll reject him the way he rejected you and let him live with that pain. Claire paused. But also that they hope you don't. Because they can see what you did for us, and they're starting to understand what we lost when we cast you out. I don't know if I can forgive him, Claire. Then don't. Not yet, anyway. Claire stood, moving to the window. But maybe watch him for these next few days. See if the male begging for your forgiveness is the same one who rejected you, or if he's learned something from his suffering. She left before Sarah could respond, taking the tray but leaving behind food for thought that sat heavier than any meal. Cale started his campaign at dawn. Sarah woke to find a bouquet of moonflowers outside her door, rare blooms that only grew in the deepest parts of the forbidden forest, each one perfect and glowing with faint silver light. A note was tucked among the petals, written in a bold hand, "These reminded me of you. Beautiful, resilient, and touched by lunar magic." Kay. She wanted to throw them away. She really did. Instead, she found herself placing them in a vase on her windowsill. The gestures continued throughout the day. Cale appeared at mealtimes, not sitting with her but nearby, close enough that she could feel his presence but far enough that he wasn't imposing. He brought her books from the pack library, volumes on healing magic and ancient wolf lore that she actually wanted to read. He cleared paths for her when she walked through the pack lands, using his alpha authority to give her space and privacy. And he wrote letters. Long, detailed letters that he left for her to find, each one a confession. About his regrets. His sleepless nights. The way his wolf had howled for her until his throat bled. How he'd driven away every healer who'd tried to help because none of them smelled right, felt right, until she'd appeared and his wolf had gone silent for the first time in 3 years. "He's been like this for 4 days, Marcus told her on the 5th morning, sounding exasperated. "Follows you around like a lost puppy, writes poetry, for the moon goddess's sake, and yesterday I caught him practicing a speech in the mirror." Sarah looked up from the medical texts she'd been studying. "A speech? About how you're the strongest wolf he's ever known and how honored he'd be if you'd just let him grovel at your feet properly." Marcus shook his head. "It's pathetic. Also kind of touching. Definitely weird. He doesn't need to do all this. Doesn't he?" Marcus settled into the chair across from her. "Sarah, I've known Cale since he was born. I watched him grow into his power, watched him become alpha, watched him make the worst mistake of his life on that blood moon 3 years ago." His expression turned serious. "I also watched him break slowly over the years that followed. His wolf went half-mad searching for something he couldn't name. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating properly, threw himself into border patrols like he was trying to outrun his own thoughts. That doesn't excuse what he did. No. But it shows that rejecting you destroyed him as surely as it destroyed you. Maybe in different ways, but destroyed nonetheless." Marcus leaned forward. "I'm not telling you to forgive him. That's your choice. But I am saying that the male trying to win you back isn't the same one who rejected you. That alpha was arrogant and blind. This one has been humbled." Sarah wanted to argue. Wanted to insist that 3 years of suffering didn't erase what Cale had done to her. But she couldn't deny what she'd seen, the genuine devastation in his eyes, the way he flinched every time she pulled away, the careful respect he showed her now. Was it enough? She didn't know. Before she could respond, a commotion erupted outside. Shouting. The sound of wolves gathering. And beneath it all, a presence that made her heart leap, familiar, beloved, furious. Darius had arrived. Sarah ran outside to find chaos unfolding in the pack square. Darius stood in the center, shifted to his massive black wolf form, his teeth bared at Cale, who'd also shifted. The two alphas circled each other while pack wolves scrambled to get out of the way. "Stop." Sarah's voice cracked like a whip, infused with lunar authority that made both males freeze. "Both of you, shift. Now." Darius shifted first, his dark eyes never leaving Cale. He was dressed for travel, covered in dust and mud, looking like he'd run straight through multiple territories without stopping. "Sarah. Thank the goddess you're safe. I told you I had 7 days. And I told you I'd come if you didn't return." He finally looked at her, and the relief in his expression made her chest ache. "When I felt your power surge 3 days ago, when I felt you break a curse, I knew you were in over your head. I had it under control. Did you? Darius's gaze shifted to Kale, who'd shifted back to human form and was pulling on pants while watching them with barely concealed hostility. Or were you letting your mate dictate what happened? He's not my mate, Sarah said automatically. Isn't he? Darius closed the distance between them, catching her face in his hands. Sarah, I can smell the bond on you. It's not complete, but it's there, pulling at you. Tell me you haven't considered accepting him. She couldn't. They both knew it. Darius's jaw clenched. I need to speak with you. Privately. Anything you have to say to her, you can say in front of her pack, Kale cut in, his voice hard. Her pack? Darius's laugh was sharp. You rejected her. You threw her away like garbage. She's not your anything, Thornwood. She's my mate. She's her own wolf. Darius stepped between them, and the air crackled with competing alpha dominance. And if she chooses me, you'll accept that. Because unlike you, I'll respect her choice. Enough. Sarah pushed between them, placing a hand on each male's chest. You're both acting like children fighting over a toy. I'm not property to be claimed. I'm not a prize to be won. I'm a wolf trying to make an impossible decision, and you're both making it harder. Darius's expression softened. I'm sorry. You're right. But Sarah. He caught her hand, brought it to his lips. I had to come. I had to make sure you knew you had another option. That you didn't have to do this alone. I'm not alone. No? He looked pointedly at Kale. Or are you just surrounded by wolves who want something from you? That's not fair. Isn't it? Darius's voice gentled. Come back to the sanctuary with me. We'll figure out another way to break the curse. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to save the pack that destroyed you. People will die if I leave. People you don't owe anything to. Innocent people. Sarah pulled her hand free, frustration building. Children. Elders. Wolves who never did anything except follow their alpha. I can't just abandon them because it's easier. I'm not asking you to take the easy path. I'm asking you to choose yourself for once. Darius caught her shoulders. Sarah, you've spent 3 years helping outcasts, building something beautiful at the sanctuary. Don't throw that away because of misplaced guilt or a mate bond that should never have existed. The moon goddess chose. The moon goddess made a mistake. The words exploded out of him, and several pack wolves gasped. There. I said it. Maybe divine fate doesn't always know best. Maybe you're meant to forge your own path instead of following one laid out by beings who don't understand mortal hearts. You don't know what you're talking about, Kale growled. The goddess doesn't make mistakes. Sarah and I were meant to be together. I'm the one who made the mistake by rejecting that. And now you want her to fix your mistake at the cost of her own happiness. I want her to have everything she deserves. Then let her go. Enough. Sarah's power flared, silver light exploding from her skin, forcing both males back several steps. I am so tired of males telling me what I should do, what I deserve, what's best for me. You want to fight? Fine. But don't pretend it's for my benefit when you're both just trying to stake your claim. She stormed off, leaving both alphas staring after her, before either could respond. The moon goddess found her at the old shrine in the Forbidden Forest, the same place where Sarah's life had changed 3 years ago. Your males are causing quite a scene, Celine observed, materializing from moonlight. They're not mine. Sarah sat on the shrine steps, exhausted. And I don't know how to make them understand that. Don't you? Celine settled beside her, divine and somehow companionable all at once. You carry bonds to both, one fated, one chosen. Both legitimate in their own ways. How is that fair to anyone? Who said anything about fair? Celine's smile was enigmatic. Sarah, you stand at a crossroads that would break most mortals. The weight of choice has always been the hardest burden to bear. Then help me. Tell me what to do. I can't. This choice must be yours alone. Selene stood, moonlight swirling around her. But I can offer you something. 3 trials, each designed to help you understand your own heart. Complete them, and you'll have the clarity you seek. Trials? Sarah's stomach sank. What kind of trials? The kind that force you to face what you've been avoiding. Selene's expression turned serious. They will test your past, your present, and your future. They will show you truths you've hidden from yourself. And they will require both of your suitors to fight beside you, because you cannot face what's coming alone. That sounds ominous. It should. These aren't symbolic challenges, Sarah. They're real, dangerous, and if you fail, Selene paused. You may lose more than just your choice. You may lose yourself. When do they start? Tonight. Selene began to fade. Gather your alphas. Tell them to set aside their rivalry, because the enemy you face won't care about their pride. And Sarah? Trust your instincts. They've kept you alive this long. Don't abandon them now. She vanished, leaving Sarah alone with the growing certainty that the next 3 days would be the hardest of her life. The first trial began at midnight. Sarah stood in the ceremonial grounds with Kale on her right and Darius on her left. The pack had gathered to watch, but they stood back, sensing this was something beyond pack politics or mate drama. This was divine business. The ground beneath them split open, and darkness poured out like liquid shadow. Sarah felt it wrap around her, pulling her down, and distantly heard Kale and Darius shouting her name. Then she was falling through memories. She saw herself at 8 years old, watching her father die in a challenge he couldn't win. Felt the helplessness, the shame of being Omega spawn. Saw her mother's grief-stricken face, her final words, "Be strong, little moon. Don't let them break you." She saw herself at 16, scrubbing blood from pack house floors while beta wolves laughed about the Omega runt who'd never amount to anything. Felt the weight of making herself small, invisible, safe. She saw the blood moon ceremony. Felt the joy of her first shift, the golden rush of the mate bond, and then the devastating crash of Kale's rejection. His disgust. The pack's laughter. Lyra's cruelty. She lived it all again, every moment of pain compressed into one eternal now. And beneath it all, a voice whispered, "You're still that Omega. Still weak. Still nothing." No. Sarah's voice echoed in the darkness. "I'm not. You were rejected. Discarded. What makes you think you deserve love now?" "Because I learned to love myself first." The words came from somewhere deep and certain. "Because I survived. Because I became something strong not despite my Omega blood, but because of everything it taught me about resilience." The darkness tried to tighten, to drag her deeper into self-doubt, but silver light began to glow from her chest. Her lunar soul, rejecting the trial's attempt to break her. "I am not defined by what was done to me," Sarah said, louder now. "I am defined by what I chose to become." The darkness shattered. She emerged gasping to find Kale holding her, his face stark with terror. Darius was on her other side, one hand pressed to her heart, silver light flowing from his palm into her chest. "Wait. Silver light? What?" Sarah tried to sit up, but both males held her down. "Don't move," Darius commanded. "The trial tried to trap you in a nightmare of self-hatred. If we hadn't anchored you with our power." "You have lunar magic?" Sarah stared at him, shocked. Darius's jaw clenched. "I was going to tell you. I am descended from the first wolves, the original pack created by Selene herself. My bloodline carries a fragment of divine power. It's why I was drawn to the sanctuary, why I could sense your blessing. You lied to me." "I omitted. There's a difference." He helped her sit up slowly. "I didn't want you to choose me because of bloodline or power. I wanted you to choose me because of who I am." Noble, Kale bit out. Also manipulative as hell. Says the male who rejected his mate for not being alpha blood enough. Enough. Sarah's head was pounding. How long was I under? 3 hours. Kale's hand was still on her back, steadying her. It felt like longer. We could see your memories, feel your pain. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I had no idea how much. Don't. She cut him off. I don't want your pity. It's not pity. He struggled for words. It's understanding. Seeing what you survived, what you endured, and knowing I added to that pain. It's killing me. Sarah looked at him, really looked. His eyes were red-rimmed, his face haggard. He'd lived through her memories too, felt her pain, and it had wrecked him. Good, part of her thought viciously. Let him suffer. But another part, the part that was tired of carrying rage like armor, wondered if maybe Marcus was right. Maybe Kale had been punished enough. 2 more trials, she said quietly. Can you both agree to a truce until they're finished? Kale and Darius exchanged hostile glances, but both nodded. For you, Darius said. For you, Kale echoed. It would have to be enough. The second trial came at dawn. This time, Sarah was ready for it. The ground didn't open. Instead, the forest around them twisted, reality bending until they stood in a clearing that shouldn't exist, a place where past and present collided. 3 figures appeared. The first was Lyra, beautiful and vicious, her smile sharp with cruelty. But her eyes were wrong, black from edge to edge, like something else was wearing her skin. Did you think I was finished? Not Lyra's voice was layered, demonic. I swore revenge, Silver Wolf. And I always keep my promises. The second figure was a massive demon wolf, easily twice the size of any alpha, its fur made of shadows and its teeth dripping with venom. The third. Dad? Sarah's voice broke. Her father stood there, looking exactly as she remembered from childhood. But his eyes were the same soulless black as Lyra's. You let me die, her father said in that beloved voice. You were Omega. Weak. You couldn't save me. That's not real. Sarah's hands clenched. The trial is showing me my fears. The trial is showing you the truth. Demon Lyra laughed. You're still that scared little girl who watched her father die. Still the Omega who couldn't protect anyone. And now you're going to watch your alphas die the same way. The demon wolf lunged. Kale and Darius moved as one, shifting mid-leap to intercept. The collision was brutal. The demon wolf was faster, stronger, wrong in ways that defied natural law. It caught Darius by the throat and flung him into a tree hard enough that Sarah heard bones crack. No. She ran toward him, but Demon Lyra blocked her path. Did you really think you could beat me? Lyra's hand shot out, catching Sarah's throat. I've been planning this for years. The curse, the rejection, all of it designed to break you. And even now, even transformed, you're still just a weak little Omega playing at being strong. Sarah's vision darkened as Lyra's grip tightened. She could hear Kale fighting the demon wolf, hear Darius struggling to get up. Could see her father watching with those dead eyes. Still weak. Still nothing. No. Silver light exploded from Sarah's body, so bright that Demon Lyra screamed and staggered back. Sarah's wolf surged forward, transforming her, and she felt power flood her veins, not just lunar magic, but something else. Something that came from deep inside, from the Omega core she'd spent years denying. Omegas weren't weak. They were survivors. They loved harder, felt deeper, held communities together through sheer force of will. Her father hadn't died because he was Omega, he died because someone stronger had chosen cruelty over mercy. She would not repeat that pattern. Sarah's enhanced wolf form tackled Demon Lyra, her teeth finding purchase in shadowy flesh. Light poured from her, burning away the demonic possession, until Lyra's astral form collapsed, defeated. Kale, Sarah's voice rang with authority. The demon wolf's heart. Strike there. Chaol, bleeding from a dozen wounds, found the strength to follow her command. His teeth closed around the demon's chest, and silver light, borrowed from Sarah through their incomplete bond, exploded outward. The demon wolf dissolved. Her father's form flickered. My little moon, he said, and this time his voice was real, free of possession. You've become so strong. Your mother and I are so proud. Then he was gone, the illusion shattered, and Sarah collapsed. Darius caught her before she hit the ground. Got you. Is it over? She gasped. Not quite. Chaol limped over, his injuries already healing thanks to his alpha constitution. He looked at where Lyra's astral form had fallen. She's not dead. Just defeated here. But she's gathering forces, real ones. This was a preview. How do you know? Because I felt her hatred through whatever dark magic she's using. Chaol's expression was grim. She's coming for you, Sarah. With everything she has. Let her come. Sarah pushed herself upright, accepting support from both males. I'm not running anymore. Good. Darius's smile was fierce. Because we fight beside you. Together, Chaol agreed, offering his hand to Darius. After a long moment, Darius took it. It wasn't friendship. Wasn't even true alliance. But it was a start. They had one day of peace before the third trial. Sarah spent it researching, preparing, trying to anticipate what the moon goddess would throw at them next. She didn't expect the truth. It came in the form of an ancient text Marcus found buried in the Pack archives, a journal written by a witch who'd served Shadowpine 20 years ago. You need to read this, Marcus said, his face pale. He handed her the journal, opened to a specific page. Sarah read. Then read again, her blood turning to ice. The entry detailed a spell, one designed to manipulate an alpha's emotions, to amplify pride and fear, to make them reject what they should embrace. The witch had been paid handsomely to cast it, by a young beta's daughter who wanted to secure her position as future Luna. Lyra. The spell had been cast the week before Sarah's 18th birthday. The week before the blood moon ceremony. No. Sarah's hands shook. That means Chaol's rejection wasn't entirely his choice. Marcus's voice was heavy. Lyra manipulated him from the beginning, ensuring he'd reject you so she could step into the Luna position. Sarah felt like she'd been punched in the gut. All this time, she'd blamed Chaol entirely. Had hated him for choosing his pride over their bond. But if his pride had been magically enhanced, if his fear of weakness had been artificially amplified, how much of the rejection had truly been his choice? Where is he? She asked. Training grounds. He's been there for hours, trying to burn off energy before tonight's trial. Sarah found him exactly where Marcus said, shirtless, bloody-knuckled, beating a training dummy like it had personally offended him. He didn't notice her approach until she spoke. Chaol. He spun, and the vulnerability in his expression caught her off guard. Sarah. I needed to. I know about the spell. He froze. What spell? She explained, watching his face cycle through shock, rage, and finally a devastating understanding. That's why, he breathed. That's why I couldn't sleep after I rejected you. Why my wolf went mad. The spell broke eventually, but by then the damage was done. He looked at his bloody hands. But it doesn't excuse what I did. Spell or not, I still said those words. I still hurt you. No. Sarah stepped closer. But it means you were manipulated. Lyra planned this from the beginning, the rejection, the curse, everything. She wanted to destroy us both. She succeeded. Did she? Sarah caught his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. Because I'm still here. You're still here. And we're both stronger for what we survived. You shouldn't forgive me. Kale's voice broke. Even knowing about the spell, I still made the choice. Shut up. And then, because words weren't enough, Sarah kissed him. It was nothing like she'd imagined a first kiss with her mate would be. It wasn't soft or romantic or magical. It was desperate and messy and tasted like salt because they were both crying. But it was real. The mate bond roared to life between them, not complete but closer, singing with recognition and relief and 3 years of suppressed longing. When they broke apart, both gasping, Kale pressed his forehead to hers. I love you. I know I don't deserve to say it, but I love you. Not because of the bond, not because the goddess ordained it, but because you're the strongest, most magnificent wolf I've ever known. Kale. And if you choose Darius, I'll accept it. I'll step aside. Because you deserve to be happy, even if that happiness doesn't include me. Sarah's heart cracked. I don't know what I'm going to choose. I know. But I need you to know, if I die tonight, I die knowing I loved you. That's enough. You're not dying. Lyra's coming with an army. The third trial. We'll face it together. Sarah kissed him again, softer this time. All 3 of us. And we'll survive. Because we're stronger than her darkness. She hoped she was right. The third trial began at midnight. They felt it coming, reality tearing open at the borders, demons pouring through rifts like water from a broken dam. Lyra led them, riding a nightmare creature made of smoke and screams. Hello, Silver Wolf, she called out, her voice carrying across the pack lands. Did you really think you could defeat me? I've made pacts with powers older than your goddess. I've become something more than mortal. You become an abomination, Sarah called back. She stood with Kale on one side and Darius on the other, their pack arrayed behind them. And we're going to send you back to whatever darkness spawned you. Bold words. Let's see if you can back them up. The battle was chaos. Demons crashed against wolf defenders like waves against stone. Sarah fought in her silver wolf form, lunar power blazing from her, turning demons to ash with every strike. Kale commanded his pack with the strategic brilliance of an alpha born to lead. And Darius. Darius revealed his true power. His wolf form erupted with silver light, divine magic flowing from him like water. He moved through demons like death incarnate, his first wolf bloodline giving him strength that rivaled Sarah's own. Together, they were unstoppable. But Lyra was waiting. She caught Sarah alone near the pack house, her demon mount breathing sulfurous fire. Just you and me now, Omega. Let's finish this. They fought like legends, Lyra with her stolen dark magic, Sarah with her lunar blessing. Light and shadow crashed together, tearing up the ground, setting buildings ablaze. You can't win. Lyra screamed. I'm immortal now. I've transcended weakness. No. Sarah's voice rang with divine authority. You've just found a different way to be weak. You're still the insecure Beta's daughter who needed to tear others down to feel strong. She struck, silver light piercing through Lyra's defenses, but the other female twisted at the last second. A blade appeared in her hand, the same cursed dagger from before. If I can't rule beside an alpha, I'll kill his mate. Lyra lunged. Kale appeared from nowhere, shifting mid-leap to intercept. The blade meant for Sarah's heart buried itself in his chest instead. No. Sarah's scream shattered windows. She watched Kale fall, blood pouring from the wound, his wolf form flickering. Lyra laughed, and died laughing as Darius's teeth found her throat from behind. But Sarah didn't care about victory. She dropped to her knees beside Kale, pressing her hands to the wound, pouring everything she had into him. Don't you dare, she sobbed. Don't you dare die on me, Kale Thornwood. Not now. Not when I was just starting to forgive you. His hand found hers, weak and trembling. Worth it, he gasped. You're safe. That's all that matters. You idiot. Tears streamed down her face. You absolute idiot. I can't lose you. I can't. Silver light exploded from her, so bright it turned night to day. Not healing magic this time, but something else. Something that came from the very core of her being. The incomplete mate bond between them snapped into place fully, perfect and whole, and Sarah felt Kale's life force through it. Felt him dying. No. She wouldn't accept it. Wouldn't let the moon goddess take him, wouldn't let some cursed blade end their story before it had truly begun. Sarah reached deep inside herself, touched the lunar soul, and made a choice. She offered it, not all of it, but a piece. A fragment of divine blessing to heal the mortal she loved. The moon goddess appeared, her expression unreadable. You would give up immortality for him? Yes, Sarah said without hesitation. He proved his love is real. He took a blade meant for me. If that's not worthy of saving, I don't know what is. Celine studied her for a long moment. Then smiled. You have completed the trials, Sarah Moss. You faced your past, your present, and chose your future. She touched Kale's chest, and the wound sealed. He lives. But the choice still stands. 7 days have passed. The blood moon is rising. What path do you choose? Sarah looked at Kale, conscious now and staring at her with wonder. She looked at Darius, who watched her with sad understanding. And she looked at her hands, still glowing with silver light, and knew what she had to do. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The blood moon hung heavy in the sky, fat and red and waiting. Sarah knelt beside Kale, her hands still pressed to his chest where the cursed blade had pierced him. The wound was sealed now, healed by a fragment of her divine essence, but she could feel the cost. Her lunar soul burned dimmer, like a candle giving up wax to keep its flame alive. Around them, the battlefield fell silent. Demons lay in piles of ash. Lyra's body, what remained of it, smoldered where Darius had torn out her throat. The pack stood in a loose circle, watching, waiting for whatever came next. Kale's eyes fluttered open, silver meeting silver. Sarah, he breathed. What did you do? I saved you, you idiot. Her voice shook. You threw yourself in front of a cursed blade. What was I supposed to do, let you die? I made a choice. He struggled to sit up, and she helped him, acutely aware of Darius standing just behind her, silent and watchful. I chose you, Sarah. Over my life, over everything. And I'd do it again. I know. She touched his face gently. I know. The air shimmered, and suddenly the moon goddess stood before them, her presence so overwhelming that every wolf dropped to their knees. Every wolf except Sarah, who remained standing, exhausted but unbowed. The 7 days have passed, Celine announced, her voice carrying across the packlands. The trials are complete. The blood moon has risen. Sarah Moss, daughter of my blessing, vessel of my power, the time has come. What is your choice? Sarah felt every eye on her. Felt Kale's hope through the newly completed bond. Felt Darius's quiet acceptance, the way he'd positioned himself just close enough to support her but far enough to give her space. 3 paths. 3 futures. Except, none of them felt right. May I speak freely, goddess? Sarah asked. Celine's eyebrow arched. You've never needed my permission before. A surprised laugh escaped Sarah despite everything. True. She took a breath, organizing her thoughts. You offered me 3 paths. Reclaim my mate and become Luna of Shadowpine. Return to Darius and build a new pack. Or ascend to immortality and leave the mortal realm forever. Yes. And each path has merit. Each path has appeal. Sarah looked at the gathered wolves, not just Shadowpine, but the outcasts from her sanctuary who'd come to fight beside her. Thomas and Claire. Marcus. The warriors who'd bled for their pack. But each path is incomplete. Because none of them address the real problem. Which is? Celine's expression was inscrutable. The system that creates wolves like me in the first place. Sarah's voice strengthened. You gave me a lunar soul, called me your champion, tested me through trials. But why? What was the point of all this suffering if not to change something fundamental about how wolf society works? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Several alphas looked uncomfortable. I spent 12 years as an Omega in Shadowpine, Sarah continued. Treated as less than, as weak, as disposable. My father died because he was Omega and no one cared enough to intervene. My mother died of grief. And I nearly died in that forest 3 years ago, rejected by my own mate because I was deemed beneath him. Kale flinched, but Sarah pressed on. But I'm not the only one. There are Omegas in every pack, suffering the same way. Being cast aside, abused, rejected. And it's not just Omegas, it's anyone who doesn't fit the narrow definition of strength. Anyone who's different. Anyone who challenges the hierarchy. She gestured to her sanctuary wolves. These are wolves who were thrown away by their packs for reasons ranging from tragic to absurd. A blind elder abandoned for weakness. Twin sisters rejected for being too aggressive. A male Omega who dared to stand up for himself. Every one of them has been broken by a system that values dominance over compassion, rank over character. You would reform the sacred hierarchy? Celine's voice was neutral, giving nothing away. I would burn it down and build something better. Sarah lifted her chin. The moon goddess created wolves to be strong, yes. But strength comes in many forms. Strength is surviving abuse and still choosing kindness. Strength is loving harder when the world tells you you're not worthy of love. Strength is getting back up after being knocked down repeatedly. She looked directly at Celine. You gave me power to prove a point. That an Omega could become something magnificent. That rank at birth doesn't determine worth. So here's my choice, I choose a fourth path. I choose to remain mortal, to keep enough divine power to protect those who need protecting, and to spend my life reforming wolf society so no Omega ever has to suffer the way I did. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Celine began to laugh, a sound like silver bells and winter wind. Magnificent, she breathed. Absolutely magnificent. You always were cleverer than you gave yourself credit for. Is that a yes? Sarah asked cautiously. It's better than a yes. It's a revelation. Celine moved closer, her eyes blazing with something that looked almost like pride. Sarah Moss, do you know why I chose you? Of all the Omegas across all the packs, why you received my lunar soul? Because I was rejected? Because you were compassionate even in your pain. Celine touched Sarah's chest, right over her heart. When you were cast out, hurt and dying, you could have cursed the pack that destroyed you. Could have begged for revenge. Instead, you asked me why. You tried to understand. And when I offered you power, you immediately thought about using it to help others like you. Sarah blinked back tears. I didn't want anyone else to hurt the way I hurt. Exactly. Celine's smile was radiant. 3 years ago, I set you on this path. The rejection, the transformation, the sanctuary. All of it was designed to prepare you for exactly this moment. For the choice you just made. Because you're right, daughter. The wolf hierarchy system is broken. It creates cruelty, rewards pride, and discards those who could be its greatest strength. She raised her voice so the entire gathering could hear. For too long, I have watched packs tear themselves apart over questions of rank and dominance. I have watched Omegas die, talented wolves cast aside, compassionate leaders rejected in favor of brutal ones. And I have waited for someone brave enough to say, no more. Silver light erupted from Celine, washing over the pack lands. Sarah Moss, I name you my lunar champion. You will retain your divine blessing, not all of it, but enough to heal, to protect, to lead. You will build a new pack structure, one based on merit and compassion rather than birth rank. And you will teach other packs to do the same. That's a lot of responsibility, Sarah whispered. Yes. Which brings us to the question of your mate. Celine's gaze shifted between Chaol and Darius. Both males have proven themselves worthy in different ways. Chaol demonstrated his love through sacrifice, his willingness to die for you. Darius showed his devotion through steady support, loving you without divine mandate. Both would stand beside you as you rebuild Wolf Society. But only one can be your chosen mate, Celine continued. So tell me, Sarah. Setting aside duty, setting aside bonds and bloodlines and divine plans, what does your heart want? Sarah looked at Chaol. At the male who was her fated mate, who'd been manipulated into rejecting her but who had learned and grown and changed. Who'd just taken a blade meant for her. Who loved her with an intensity that came partly from the bond but also from genuine admiration for who she'd become. She could feel him through their connection now, his hope, his fear, his desperate wish that she'd choose him and give him the chance to spend a lifetime making up for one terrible mistake. It would be so easy to choose him. To let the mate bond guide her, to embrace what the moon goddess had originally intended. But then she looked at Darius. At the male who'd appeared at her sanctuary 8 months ago and slowly, carefully, built something real with her. Who'd never asked her to be anything other than herself. Who'd given her space to heal, to grow, to find her strength without trying to claim credit for it. Who loved her not because fate demanded it, but because he'd chosen to. And Sarah realized something profound. She had spent 3 years learning to choose herself, to define her own worth, to build her own power. How could she honor that journey by letting fate choose her mate? I'm sorry, Chaol, she said softly. She watched his face crumble, watched hope die in his eyes. Sarah, please. Let me finish. She moved to stand in front of him, taking his hands in hers. I forgive you. Truly, completely forgive you. What Lyra did, the spell she cast, it doesn't excuse your choices, but it explains them. And you've proven through your actions, through your sacrifice, that you've learned from that mistake. Then why? Because I can't build a future on the foundation of my greatest pain. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Every time I look at you, I'll remember that night. The rejection. The humiliation. The way I wanted to die rather than face another day. And yes, I've forgiven you. But forgiveness doesn't erase memory. Chaol's throat worked. So I'm being punished. No. You're being released. Sarah squeezed his hands. The mate bond will always connect us, that's beyond my power to change. But we don't have to act on it. You can find happiness elsewhere, Chaol. You can find a mate who doesn't carry the weight of past trauma every time she looks at you. I don't want anyone else. I know. And I'm sorry. She released his hands and stepped back. But this is my choice. My fourth path. And I choose the male who loved me without fate forcing his hand. She turned to Darius, who was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. If you'll have me. For a long moment, he just stared. Then a slow smile spread across his face, vulnerable, hopeful, real. Are you sure? Because Sarah, I need you to be sure. I won't be the consolation prize, the safe choice, the male you picked because the other one hurt you. You're not. Sarah closed the distance between them. You're the choice I'm making with clear eyes and an open heart. You're the male who saw me as the silver wolf before you knew I was a rejected Omega. Who never tried to fix me or save me, just stood beside me while I saved myself. Who makes me laugh, who challenges me to think bigger, who, her voice caught. Who I can imagine building a life with. Not because fate says we're meant to be together, but because I want to try. Darius cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away her tears. Then yes. 1,000 times yes. He kissed her, and there was no divine magic, no celestial light, no prophesied bond snapping into place. Just two wolves choosing each other, and somehow that felt more powerful than any destiny. When they broke apart, Sarah turned back to the moon goddess. I've made my choice. So you have. Celine's expression was satisfied. Then let it be witnessed by all assembled, Sarah Moss has chosen Darius Blackthorn as her mate. Their union is blessed by my hand, and any who challenge it challenges me. She raised her arms, and silver light cascaded over Sarah and Darius both. Sarah felt something shift inside her, not a mate bond like she'd had with Chaol, but something newer, something chosen. A connection built on love and respect and the deliberate decision to intertwine their lives. It felt right. But what of Chaol Thornwood? Celine's voice turned sharp, and every eye swiveled to the alpha still kneeling in the dirt. An alpha who rejected his moon-blessed mate, who allowed pride to corrupt his judgment, who nearly destroyed his entire pack through his failures. Chaol didn't try to defend himself. Just kept his head bowed, accepting whatever judgment came. You will live, Celine declared. But you will carry the weight of your choices. You will watch your true mate build a life with another. You will feel the echo of the bond you severed, a constant reminder of what you cast aside. This is not cruelty. It is consequence. This is not punishment, it is education. I understand, Chaol said hoarsely. Do you? Celine moved to stand before him. Then prove it. Sarah has chosen to reform Wolf Society. You will help her. You will use your position as Alpha of Shadowpine to support her mission, to change pack laws, to protect the Omegas and outcasts your old beliefs would have condemned. You will become living proof that even the proudest Alpha can learn humility. She placed her hand on his head, and light flowed into him. I give you a gift, Chaol Thornwood. I give you the ability to sense when wolves in your pack are being mistreated, to feel their pain as your own. You will never again be able to ignore the suffering of those deemed beneath you. This is my mercy and my justice combined. Chaol gasped as the power settled into him. When he looked up, there was something different in his eyes. A depth, an awareness, a weight. Thank you, goddess. I will not waste this chance. See that you don't. Celine turned back to address the full gathering. Let it be known throughout all pack territories, the wolf hierarchy system is changing. Rank at birth will no longer determine worth. Omegas will be protected, not cast aside. And any alpha who rejects a moon-blessed mate for reasons of pride or prejudice will face my direct wrath. Is this understood? A chorus of, yes, moon goddess echoed through the night. Good. Celine's expression softened as she looked at Sarah again. Now, as for Lyra Stormborn. She's dead, Darius pointed out. I killed her myself. Her body is dead. But her wolf. Celine gestured, and a ghostly form materialized, Lyra's wolf, transparent and trembling. Her wolf was innocent of her crimes. The human side made the choices, worked with dark magic, corrupted what should have been pure. So I give the wolf a choice, fade into nothing with your human counterpart, or accept reincarnation without memory, to be born again and have another chance at life. The wolf Lyra whimpered, then bowed her head in acceptance. So be it. Celine waved her hand, and the spirit vanished. She will be reborn in a distant pack, with no memory of this life. Perhaps she will choose better next time. And the curse? Marcus called out. Is Shadowpine truly free? The curse is broken permanently. Celine's voice rang with finality. Sarah's sacrifice, Chaol's transformation, and the pack's willingness to change have satisfied the balance. Shadowpine will thrive, if you choose to learn from this experience. Relief swept through the gathered wolves. Several collapsed, weeping. Others embraced, celebrating survival. There is one more matter. Celine's eyes gleamed with something almost mischievous. Sarah, Darius, stepped forward. They did, hand in hand, and Sarah felt a flutter of nervousness. What is it? Your mating ceremony will take place in 3 days, yes? That was the plan, Darius confirmed. Then you should know what you carry. Selene placed her hand on Sarah's abdomen, and silver light bloomed beneath her palm. Life. New life, already taking root. Conceived in the moment you chose each other, blessed by my power. Sarah's breath caught. I'm pregnant? Impossible, someone in the crowd muttered. They haven't even completed the mating bond yet. With divine intervention, many things are possible. Selene smiled. This child will be special, Sarah. A lunar alpha, the first of a new generation of wolves blessed with divine power from birth. Not omega, not beta, not alpha in the old sense. Something new. A bridge between mortal and divine, born to lead the reformed packs into a better future. Sarah's hand moved to her stomach, wonder flooding through her. A child. Our child. Darius's arm came around her, pulling her close. A family, he whispered, voice thick with emotion. The first of many, if my visions are correct. Selene's expression turned distant. But that is a story for another time. For now, celebrate. Mourn your losses, tend your wounded, and prepare for the work ahead. Change is coming to the wolf world, and you, Sarah Moss, will lead it. I won't do it alone. Sarah looked at Darius, then at Kale, then at the gathered wolves. I'll need all of you. Every pack, every rank, every wolf willing to build something better. You'll have Shadapine's full support, Kale said, rising to his feet. He looked diminished somehow, worn by pain and consequence, but also more real. More human. I swear it on my alpha bond. We will be your allies in this, Sarah. Whatever you need. And the sanctuary wolves stand with you, Thomas called out. Others echoed his sentiment. Then we begin tomorrow. Sarah's voice strengthened. Today we've won a battle. Tomorrow we start winning the war, against prejudice, against cruelty, against a system that breaks wolves instead of building them up. The moon goddess began to fade, her work complete. But her voice lingered, one final gift, daughter. I return to you what you sacrificed. Light flowed into Sarah, and she felt her lunar soul blaze bright again, restored to its full power. The fragment she'd given to heal Kale returned to her, complete and whole. You gave up immortality to save another, Selene's voice echoed. That act of love earned you the right to keep your power. Use it wisely. Use it well. And know that I am always watching, always proud of my most unexpected champion, the Omega who became a goddess's chosen. Then she was gone, and they were left standing under the blood moon, forever changed. 3 days later, Sarah stood in a clearing decorated with moonflowers and silver ribbons, wearing a simple white dress that Claire had helped her make. The entire sanctuary pack had traveled to attend, along with representatives from Shadowpine and 3 other packs who'd heard about the lunar champion and wanted to witness history. Darius waited for her at the altar, a natural stone formation that seemed to have been carved by the goddess herself. He wore all black, his dark hair loose around his shoulders, and the look in his eyes when he saw her made Sarah's breath catch. You're beautiful, he murmured as she took her place beside him. You're not so bad yourself. Marcus officiated, his voice carrying across the clearing as he spoke the traditional mating vows. But when it came time for Sarah and Darius to speak their personal promises, they'd chosen to write their own. I choose you, Sarah said, her voice clear and strong. Not because fate demands it, not because a bond forces my hand, but because you showed me what love looks like when it's freely given. You saw me at my worst and stayed. You celebrated my strength without taking credit for it. You made me laugh when I wanted to cry, challenged me when I needed pushing, and held me when I needed support. I choose you today, tomorrow, and every day after. I choose us. Darius's eyes were suspiciously bright. I choose you, he echoed. The silver wolf who saved me when I was half dead and broken. The woman who built something beautiful from the ashes of her pain. The mate who makes me want to be better, do better, love better. You are my partner, my equal, my chosen future. And I swear on everything I am that I will spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice. They exchanged simple silver bands, no ornate jewelry, nothing showy, just solid metal that would last. Then Marcus pronounced them mated, and Darius kissed her while the crowd cheered. Sarah felt the mating bond snap into place fully, different from the one with Cale but no less powerful. This was chosen love, deliberate commitment, and it settled into her chest like coming home. The celebration that followed was joyous and chaotic. Music, dancing, food shared between wolves who would have been enemies under the old system. Sanctuary outcasts mingling with Shadowpine warriors. Omegas laughing with alphas as equals. It was a glimpse of what could be. Cale appeared as the sun began to set, keeping his distance but offering a formal bow. "Congratulations," he said, and Sarah could hear how much the words cost him. "Thank you for coming," she replied gently. "I wouldn't miss it. Even if," he stopped, jaw working. "I'm happy for you, Sarah. Truly. You deserve all the joy in the world. So do you, Cale. Someday. Maybe." He looked at Darius. "Take care of her. She's precious." "I know," Darius said simply. "And I will." An understanding passed between them, not friendship, probably never friendship, but a mutual respect. Both loved Sarah. Both would die for her. And both accepted that she'd made her choice. It would have to be enough. As night fell, Sarah found herself standing at the edge of the clearing, one hand resting on her still flat stomach, looking up at the moon. She thought about the terrified Omega she'd been 3 years ago, running into the forbidden forest certain she was going to die. That girl was gone. In her place stood the lunar champion, the Silver Wolf, a mated female carrying the first lunar alpha in her womb. Thinking deep thoughts? Darius came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Thinking about how far I've come. How much has changed. Any regrets? None. She leaned back against him. Though I'm terrified about the work ahead. Reforming wolf society won't be easy. No. But you won't do it alone. You've got me. You've got the sanctuary wolves. Even Cale and Shadowpine are on your side now. He pressed a kiss to her temple. And in about 7 months, you'll have a little lunar alpha to help too. Sarah laughed. I think the baby should probably wait a few years before joining the revolution. Fair point. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. Somewhere in the distance, wolves began to howl, not in mourning or challenge, but in celebration. A song of hope, of new beginnings, of a future where rank didn't determine worth. Sarah? Darius's voice was soft. Thank you. For what? For choosing me. For choosing yourself. For being brave enough to forge a fourth path when the 3 you were offered weren't good enough. He turned her to face him. You're extraordinary. And I'm the luckiest wolf alive. We're both lucky. She pulled him down for a kiss. We found each other despite everything. That's not luck, that's destiny. Just not the kind the moon goddess had in mind. Better than destiny, Darius murmured against her lips. It's choice. Above them, the moon shone silver and bright, and Sarah could almost feel the moon goddess smiling. She had been broken. She had been rejected. She had been cast aside and left to die. But she had risen. She had transformed. And now she stood as a beacon of hope for every wolf who'd ever been told they were less than. The Omega who became the goddess's chosen. The rejected mate who found real love. The broken girl who learned that true strength comes not from never falling, but from rising again and again, refusing to let the world's cruelty define her worth. This was her story. Her choice. Her triumph. And it was just beginning. Epilogue, 1 year later. Sarah walked through the council chambers of what had once been the Shadowpine Pack House, now transformed into the headquarters of the United Pack Alliance. Around the table sat representatives from 15 different packs, gathered to discuss the new laws protecting Omegas and reformed hierarchy structures. Kale sat at her right hand, not as her mate, but as her chief ally. He'd spent the year traveling to different packs, sharing his story, convincing stubborn alphas that change was necessary. The burden the moon goddess had given him, the ability to feel his pack members' pain, had transformed him into one of the most compassionate leaders in wolf society. He would never have Sarah. But he'd found purpose in helping her mission. Darius sat at her left, their 3-month-old daughter sleeping in a sling against his chest. Luna, named for the moon and the blessing she carried, had been born under a new moon, her eyes opening to reveal silver irises that glowed when she cried. The first lunar alpha, exactly as the goddess had promised. The northern packs have agreed to the reforms, one representative reported. They're implementing Omega protection laws and eliminating rank-based discrimination. The eastern packs are resisting, another admitted. They claim we're destroying tradition. Then we keep working, Sarah said firmly. Change doesn't happen overnight. But it does happen, one pack at a time, one law at a time, one mind at a time. She looked around the table at wolves from different packs, different ranks, different backgrounds, all united by a common goal. This was what she'd fought for. This was why she'd survived. We adjourn until next month, she declared. Safe travels to all of you. As the council dispersed, Darius came to her side, adjusting Luna's sling. How are you feeling? Tired. Hopeful. Determined. She touched their daughter's tiny hand, marveling as always at the perfection of her. Ready to change the world. That's my mate. Darius kissed her softly. Come on. Let's go home. Home. The sanctuary, expanded now to accommodate their growing family and the constant stream of wolves seeking help. It was chaotic and imperfect and beautiful. As they walked out into the evening air, Sarah caught Kale watching them from across the courtyard. She offered him a smile, genuine, warm, forgiving. He returned it, though she could see the bittersweet edge to it. Some wounds never fully healed. Some loves never fully faded. But they could be transformed into something else. Something useful. Something good. Kale had lost his mate. But he'd found his purpose. And Sarah? Sarah had everything. The mate she'd chosen. The daughter she'd been blessed with. The mission that gave her life meaning. She was no longer the rejected Omega cowering in shadows. She was the Silver Wolf. The lunar champion. The mother of the first lunar alpha. She was proof that the broken could become beautiful. That the cast aside could become irreplaceable. That rank meant nothing compared to courage, compassion, and the refusal to let cruelty win. Under the rising moon, Sarah howled, a song of triumph, of healing, of hope. And across the territories, thousands of wolves howled back. The revolution had begun. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.